They took everything, didn't they? You stand in the wreckage of what used to be yours. The life you built, the trust you gave, the love you poured, gone, like smoke rising from a fire you never saw coming. You claw at the remnants, searching for something, anything left behind. But all you find is the cold echo of what once was. They didn't just take what you had. They ripped away what you believed in. They stole the warmth from your world, leaving you to shiver in the darkness, wondering how it all came to this. Betrayal doesn't whisper. It roars. It crashes through your life like a storm, uprooting everything in its path. And when it leaves, it does so with a grin, watching you stagger in disbelief. You never thought they would do it. Not them. Not the ones you trusted, the ones you bled for, the ones you defended when others warned you. You built a home with your hands, and they torched it. You offered your heart, and they crushed it. You walked beside them, and the moment you looked away, they pushed you off the edge. And now, here you are, standing in the ruins. Do you feel that silence? The deafening stillness where laughter once echoed. It's the absence of everything they took from you. And the worst part, they're gone, nowhere to be found. They left you with the rubble, expecting you to collapse under the weight. They never thought you'd get up. They wanted you to drown in the emptiness, to suffocate under the weight of the questions that will never be answered. Why? That single word haunts you, rattles in your bones, scraping against your sanity. But no answer comes, because they never cared enough to explain. And so you sit there, feeling the cold seep into your soul, staring at the aftermath of their destruction. The pain is unbearable. It feels like your very essence is unraveling, like you're dissolving into nothingness. You look at yourself and don't recognize the reflection. Your eyes, once bright with belief, are now dull with exhaustion. Your hands, once steady with purpose, now shake under the weight of your own disbelief. Who are you now, without them? Who are you, stripped of everything? That's the question, isn't it? The one that lingers in the hollow space they left behind. You were defined by what you gave, by how much you sacrificed. You wore your loyalty like armor, your love like a badge of honor. But now, that armor is cracked, that badge is torn from your chest, and you wonder, was it all for nothing? Was it ever real? Did they ever mean a single word they said? The memories replay like cruel theater, scenes of laughter, of promises, of moments that once felt unshakable. Now, every single one of them feels like a carefully crafted lie. The world is moving on without you. You see it, don't you? People laughing, buildings standing tall, the sun still rising as if your entire world hasn't just been shattered. It's maddening, the way life refuses to acknowledge your pain, the way the universe keeps spinning while you struggle just to breathe. You scream, but your voice is swallowed by the void. No one hears, no one stops, no one comes to pick you up. You are alone in the destruction they left behind. But here's what they didn't expect. They thought they could take everything and leave you with nothing. They thought their absence would break you, that their betrayal would hollow you out until there was nothing left but a whisper of who you used to be. They thought this was your ending. But they forgot one thing. You are still here. And if there is one ember still burning in these ashes, you will turn it into a wildfire. They made you believe you were powerless, didn't they? They spoke in soft tone, wrapped their lies in silk, and whispered them into your ears until you mistook their deception for truth. They didn't break you all at once. No, they were patient. They chipped away at you, bit by bit, until you no longer recognized the holes they had carved in your soul. And the worst part, you thanked them for it. You apologized for not being enough. You questioned yourself instead of questioning them. It started small, a subtle shift, a carefully placed doubt. Are you sure you can handle this? They'd ask, planting a seed that would one day strangle you. Maybe this isn't for you. Another weed in the garden of your mind. You're not like them. You're different. Isolation disguised as comfort. They laid their traps with precision, ensuring you never even realized you were stepping into a cage. And when you hesitated, when something in you whispered that maybe just maybe, you were being deceived. They pulled you back with empty promises. I believe in you, they said, but only when it served them. You have potential, but only if you stayed exactly where they wanted you. They dangled hope in front of you, just out of reach, making sure you were always chasing, always striving, always doubting whether you deserved to have it in the first place. Say, that's how manipulation works. It doesn't slam doors. It slowly convinces you that you are never meant to walk through them. It doesn't chain you down. It makes you believe you are never strong enough to stand on your own. They poisoned you with their words, laced every kindness with control, and by the time you saw the bars around you, you had already accepted the cage as home. And now you sit with the weight of all their lies pressing against your chest. You hear their voices, even when they're gone, echoing in the hollow spaces they left behind. You'll never make it without us. No one else will care like we did. You're not as strong as you think. Their words, their venom, still live inside you. That's how deeply they buried their hooks. But let me ask you something. What if they were wrong? What if every single thing they ever told you was designed to keep you small, to keep you weak, to keep you from realizing what you were truly capable of? What if you were never powerless, only convinced that you were? Think back, think hard, before their words wrapped around your throat like a noose, before they clouded your vision, before they made you question your own reflection. Who were you? Do you even remember? There was a time when you believed in yourself, a time when you didn't flinch at your own dreams, a time when you looked at the world with fire in your eyes instead of fear in your heart. That person is still in there, beneath the wreckage, beneath the doubt, beneath the years of manipulation. They are still there, waiting. And when you finally see through the lies, when you finally realize the truth they never wanted you to find out, something shifts. The weight begins to lift. The bars begin to rust. The chains, the ones you thought were unbreakable, start to crack. Because here's the truth they never wanted you to know. You were never powerless. You were only ever convinced that you were. When did you start doubting yourself? Was it the first time they dismissed your voice, made you feel like your thoughts didn't matter? Was it when they laughed, not in a way that made you feel warm inside, but in a way that made you shrink? Was it the moment they made you feel small, insignificant, replaceable? You don't even remember, do you? That's how slow it was. The erosion of confidence doesn't happen overnight. It's a quiet decay, a slow unraveling, a whisper that turns into a roar. You used to trust yourself. You used to stand tall, unshaken by the winds of doubt. But somewhere along the way, that changed. Somewhere along the way, you started second-guessing. You started looking at yourself through their eyes instead of your own. At first, it was little thing, a hesitation before speaking, a question left unasked, an idea swallowed before it could leave your lips. And then it grew. You stopped trusting your instincts. You looked for permission before taking action. You apologized for existing, for wanting, for needing. You let the world convince you that you were too much or not enough. Either way, wrong. Now you stare at your own reflection, and you don't recognize the person looking back at you. The fire in your eyes is dim. Your shoulders slumped under the weight of doubt. Your voice, once strong, now wavers with uncertainty. You used to walk with purpose, but now, every step feels like a question. Who are you? That question sits heavy in your chest because you don't have an answer anymore. You've been rewritten so many times by the hands of others that your original script is lost beneath the scribbles. You've played so many roles to fit their expectations that you no longer remember the sound of your own true voice. And that realization, it's terrifying. Because if you don't know who you are, then who does? They took your confidence. They chipped away at your identity. They stole the certainty that used to anchor you to yourself. And now, you're floating in the aftermath, reaching for something solid, something real, something true. But let me tell you something. They didn't take everything. Because beneath the doubt, Beneath the layers of uncertainty, beneath the fear that they forced upon you, there is still something left. A spark, a whisper, a shadow of who you were before they tried to erase you. And if there is even the smallest piece of you left, then you can rebuild. But first, you have to face that reflection, not with shame, not with regret, but with the fire of someone who refuses to stay lost. They thought you were finished. They watched you stumble, watched you fall, and instead of offering a hand, they laughed. Not a quiet chuckle, not a nervous smirk, but a full-bodied, shameless, condescending laugh, the kind that echoes in your skull long after the sound has faded, the kind that reminds you of every moment they saw you at your weakest and decided you were nothing more than a joke. They mocked your pain, smiled at your struggle, celebrated your downfall. You saw it in their eyes, the amusement, the superiority, the satisfaction of knowing they had broken you just enough. They expected you to stay down. They expected you to accept your place beneath them, to crawl, to beg, to surrender. You were nothing more than entertainment to them, a tragic figure drowning in your own misfortune. They underestimated you, and maybe for a moment you believed them. Maybe for a moment you thought they were right, that you were weak, that you were finished, that there was nothing left of you worth saving. But then something happened, something small, something almost imperceptible, a flicker in the darkness, a shift in your chest, a burning ember buried beneath the wreckage of everything they tried to destroy. Anger, not just any anger, the kind that doesn't fade, the kind that doesn't burn out, the kind that simmers beneath the surface, waiting, the kind that isn't reckless but precise, the kind that doesn't lash out in blind rage but sharpens itself into something lethal. That's what they never saw coming, because they thought their laughter was the final nail in your coffin. They thought their words had buried, but they forgot one thing about fire. It doesn't die in darkness. It waits, it feeds, it grows. And as you sit there, remembering the way they looked at you, the way they wrote you off, the way they convinced themselves that you were nothing more than a passing tragedy, you feel it, that ember turning into a flame, that rage transforming into something else, not revenge, power. Because the greatest mistake they ever made wasn't betraying you. It wasn't mocking you. It wasn't underestimating you. Their greatest mistake was thinking you wouldn't rise. Yet here you stand, after everything, after the betrayal, after the doubt, after the humiliation, after they took what they could, after they laughed in your face, after they walked away thinking they had won. You're still here. You may not be whole. You may not be unscathed, but you are standing, and that means something, because you were supposed to stay down, weren't you? You were supposed to disappear into the shadows, let the weight of their destruction crush you. You were supposed to be a cautionary tale, a fading memory, a name they spoke only in past tense, but something inside you refused, something inside you, no matter how battered, no matter how exhausted, held on, and now, for the first time, you feel it, that flicker of resilience buried deep under the wreckage of your pain. It was never truly gone. It was waiting, waiting for you to see it, waiting for you to remember. Look at yourself. Look past the bruises, past the scars, past the doubts they planted in your mind. Do you see it? The proof that you are not as broken as they wanted you to be. The undeniable truth that no matter what they did, no matter how hard they tried, they failed, because you are still here. And if you are still here, that means the fire is still burning. Maybe it's small, maybe it's fragile, maybe it doesn't feel like much right now, but it's enough. It's enough to start something, enough to rebuild, enough to become something they never saw coming, because they thought they destroyed you. They thought they extinguished your fire, but fire doesn't die. It waits. And when it returns, it burns hotter than ever before. What if you were never powerless? What if every moment of doubt, every second of hesitation, every whispered fear wasn't yours to begin with? What if the prison you've been trapped in was never made of steel and stone, but of words, of ideas, of carefully placed illusions designed to keep you small. They never needed to hold you down. They never needed to chain you by force. They made you do it yourself. That's the cruelest trick of all, isn't it? They handed you the chain, and you locked them around your own wrist. They planted the lie, and you watered them. They convinced you that you were weak, and you carried that belief like a badge of honor. You lived by their rules, obeyed their limits, accepted their version of you without ever asking, who decided this? Who told you that you couldn't? Who made you believe that your fire was meant to be contained? And now, as you stand here, something inside you shifts. A realization, sharp and unforgiving, cuts through the fog. The real battle was never out there. It was never about them. It was never about what they did. It was about what you accepted. That is the first battle. Not against your enemies, not against the ones who laughed at you, the ones who underestimated you, the ones who betrayed you. The first battle is against yourself, against the version of you that believed their lies, against the voice in your head that still whispers their words, against the chains you've carried for so long that you forgot what it felt like to be free. And now you stand at the edge of something terrifying. Truth, because once you see the chain, you can never unsee them. And once you realize they were never locked, you can never pretend they were. The only question now is, will you take them off? Will you let go of everything you thought was true and finally step into the unknown? Because that's where freedom begins. Not when they release you, but when you release yourself. Harness it. Let it shape you. They told you that anger was dangerous, didn't they? That it was ugly, reckless, something to be ashamed of. They wanted you to suppress it, to swallow it, to let it rot inside you until it turned into something that made you weak. But here's the truth. They were never afraid of your anger itself. They were afraid of what would happen if you learned how to use it. Because anger, when left unchecked, is chaos. It burns without direction, destroying everything in its path, including you. But controlled fury? That is something else entirely. That is power. That is precision. That is the difference between a wildfire that consumes and a blade that carves a new future. You feel it, don't you? That heat inside you. The fire that refuses to die. The rage at what they did, at what they took, at how they tried to break you. Good. Feel it. Let it remind you that you are still alive. Let it fuel you, but do not let it blind you. Because rage alone is not enough. Destruction is easy. Giving in to chaos, lashing out without thought, burning everything around you. That's what they expect. That's what they want. They want you reckless. They want you unfocused. They want you to self-destruct so they never have to face the storm they created. But you are smarter than that. You take this fire and you forge it into something unbreakable. You take this anger and you turn it into action. You do not let it consume you. You let it sharpen you. You do not lose yourself in it. You become something greater because of it. Because the difference between destruction and transformation is control. And now for the first time, you are the one in control. Who you were is not who you will be. For so long, they told your story for you. They decided who you were, what you were capable of, what you deserve. They carved their version of you into stone, expecting you to carry it like an unshakable truth. But that version of you, it no longer exists. It died in the wreckage they left behind. It burned in the fire they thought would destroy you. And now, here you stand, with nothing but the ashes of your past and a choice. What will you become? This is the moment where you no longer cling to the person they convinced you to be. The moment where you rewrite your name, your purpose, your identity, not as a reflection of their expectations, but as a declaration of your own power. They do not get to define you anymore. The past does not get to chain you anymore. You are no longer who they left behind. You are no longer the person they laughed at, the person they underestimated, the person they tried to break. You are something new, something stronger, something they will never understand. And as you step forward, you do not walk timidly. You do not hesitate. You step into the storm, unafraid of the chaos, because now You are the storm. From the ashes, we construct empires. They thought ruin would be your end. They thought devastation would leave you hollow, empty, unable to rise. But they forgot something. Destruction is not the opposite of creation. It is the beginning of it. Every empire, every legend, every force that reshaped the world was built from the wreckage of something that came before. And now, so are you. You do not erase your past. You use it. Every scar, every wound, every moment of suffering becomes a brick in the foundation of what you are building. The pain does not disappear, but it no longer owns you. Instead, it fuels you. It strengthens you. It reminds you of what you survived and what you will never allow again. This is where the real work begins. The rebuilding, the reclaiming, the deliberate act of taking what was meant to destroy you and turning it into something unstoppable. It will not be easy. The echoes of the past will try to pull you back. The old fears will whisper that you are not ready, but you have already proven them wrong. You are still here. You are still standing. And now, you are creating something that no one will ever be able to take from you again. Because from ruin, greatness is forged. From suffering, power is born. And from the ashes, you will rise, not just to survive, but to build something greater than they ever imagined. They don't see it coming. They thought it was over. They thought they had won. They walked away believing you were finished, that your silence was surrender, that your absence was defeat. But what they don't know, what they will never see until it's too late, is that silence is not submission. It is preparation. It is the sharpening of the blade before battle. It is the stillness before the storm unleashes its wrath. You have been growing in the shadow, rebuilding in the quiet. While they remained blind in their arrogance, you were learning, refining, strengthening. Every doubt they planted, you have ripped from the roots. Every weakness they exploited, you have reinforced with steel. Every broken piece they left behind, you have reconstructed into something unbreakable. There is power in what they cannot see. There is danger in what they underestimate. And now, as you stand on the edge of something unstoppable, you feel it, this moment, this breath before the impact, this calm before everything changes. They don't see it coming, but they will. Every stone they threw at you becomes your weapon. They thought they were breaking you. Every insult, every betrayal, every moment they doubted you. Each one was meant to cut you down, to leave you weak, to bury you beneath the weight of their judgment. But what they didn't understand is that every stone they hurled at you was never meant to crush you. It was meant to build you. And now, here you stand, forged by the very things that were meant to destroy you. Every scar is proof of your endurance. Every wound has turned to armor. Every failure they mocked has become a lesson that made you stronger. You didn't just survive their attacks, you turned them into fuel. And now, when you rise, they fall. Not because you seek revenge, not because you chase destruction, but because they built themselves upon the idea that you would never make it. They thrived on your struggle. They gained power from your doubt. They stood tall only because they believed you would never stand again. But now, you rise, and the higher you climb, the smaller they become. The louder your success, the quieter their laughter. The moment they feared, the moment they never thought possible, is here, and they can do nothing to stop it, because their power was never real. It only existed as long as you believed in your own weakness. But now, you know the truth. You were never weak. You were never powerless. You were never beneath them. You were only waiting. And now, they fall under the weight of their own arrogance, crushed by the truth they refused to see, the truth that was always inevitable. You were never meant to stay down. You were always meant to rise. They thought you were weak. Now they tremble. They built their confidence on your silence. They walked with certainty, believing you would always remain in their shadow. They never saw you as a threat. They never imagined that the same person they mocked, dismissed, and underestimated would one day stand taller than them. But now they feel it, that slow, creeping realization, the shift in power, the weight of their own mistake pressing down on them. They watch as the person they ridiculed becomes something unstoppable, something undeniable, something far beyond their control, and it terrifies them. Not because you seek vengeance, not because you waste time chasing them, proving yourself to those who never deserved your energy. No, you don't need to. Your success is the answer. Your rise is the consequence of their failure to see who you truly were all along. Because this victory was never about them. It was never about proving anything to the ones who doubted you. It was about proving something to yourself. And now you stand in your power, not out of spite, but out of unshakable certainty. They underestimated you. That was their mistake. Now they can do nothing but watch as you become everything they swore you never could. You have become the storm. Fear once ruled you. It whispered doubts in your ear, wrapped chains around your potential, held you back when you were meant to rise. It made you hesitate. It made you question. It made you shrink into a version of yourself that was easier to control, easier to ignore. But now, fear bows before you, because you have faced it. You have walked through the fire, through the wreckage, through every nightmare they swore you wouldn't survive, and yet here you stand, unshaken, unbreakable, untouchable. The limitations they placed on you, gone. The doubts they planted, uprooted. The past that once held you back, left in the dust of your transformation. You no longer fear failure. You no longer fear judgment. You no longer fear them, because you are not the one being hunted anymore. You are the force that moves forward without hesitation, without permission, without the weight of anyone else's expectations. You have become everything they swore you never could. You have become the storm. Legends are not born. They are made in darkness. No one starts as a legend. No one is handed immortality, carved into history, without first being broken, tested, and torn apart. Legends are not created in moments of comfort. They are forged in the fires of suffering, in the silence of loneliness, in the nights when no one believed in them but themselves. And now that is you, because everything they did to silence you only amplified the sound of your rise. Every lie they told about you will crumble under the truth of what you've become. Every scar, every fall, every loss, it all becomes part of the story they will tell when your name is spoken. Your name will echo, not because you chased their approval, not because you begged to be seen, but because you stood when no one thought you would. Because you built yourself from nothing, from pain, from ashes, and became something unforgettable. This is not about revenge. This is about legacy. This is about leaving behind something bigger than yourself. A reminder to everyone who was ever told they couldn't. A reminder to the next soul walking through darkness, carrying chains they don't realize they can break. Because you are proof that the ones who were laughed at, the ones who were broken, the ones they thought they could bury, are the ones who rise and change the world. Everything. They thought they could take everything from you. Your hope, your strength, your identity.